This morning.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
What
Maria.
a fight. Oh, my goodness. So, look, you're an African-American successful business person. You're the secretary of HUD. You work for President Trump. Is he racist?
He is not racist at all. You know, the first time I met him, it was before we got into politics, was down at Mar-a-Lago. And he and I were talking, and someone came up to him and said, Mr. Trump, Rod Stewart is here.
This morning's interview lit up the political scene as Dr. Ben Carson joined the show to address the escalating feud between President Trump and the group of progressive congresswomen known as the Squad. As Ilhan Omar once again accused Trump of racism, Carson stepped forward with calm conviction and first-hand truth that the mainstream media refuses to air.
You all should end this charade and accept that this racist president wants every black, brown person deported and Muslims banned. His immigration policies say this much. The president tweeted this morning, "I don't believe the 4 congresswomen are capable of loving our country. They should apologize to America and Israel for their horrible, hateful things that they have said. They are destroying the Democrat Party, but are weak and insecure people who can never destroy our great nation." Ben Carson is the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, and he joins me right now. And, Mr. Secretary, it's good to have you on the program this morning.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
What
Maria.
a fight. Oh, my goodness. So, look, you're an African-American successful business person. You're the Secretary of HUD. You work for President Trump. Is he racist?
He is not racist at all. You know, the first time I met him, it was before we got into politics, was down at Mar-a-Lago. And he and I were talking, and someone came up to him and said, Mr. Trump, Rod Stewart is here. And he said, yeah, but this has been...
Maria, his words didn't just defend the former president. They exposed the double standards and selective outrage that dominate today's political conversation. Is President Trump racist? It was the question that has followed Trump for years, used as a political weapon and repeated endlessly by his critics. But Carson's answer was immediate, confident, and personal. He didn't speak in sound bites or talking points. He spoke from
That's the kind of person he is. and you may remember when we were running for president at one of the debates, and I couldn't hear my name announced, so I was standing there. Everybody else gleefully walked past me, but Trump stood right next to me until they straightened it out. You know, that's the kind of person that he is. You know, he lived in New York. Jesse Jackson gave him an award for the incredible things that he had done in the African-American community. I have never seen anything that even resembles racism. And look at the policies that have been done. And look at the people who have been helped. You know, black unemployment at the lowest level ever. Same thing for Hispanics. You look at the fact that he has engaged so much in second chance for people. You know, things that other people talked about, but he has done. You know, opportunity zones where people who've made enormous amounts of money have the opportunity to take unrealized capital gains and to
He's not racist at all, Carson said firmly. He shared a story from before politics, when he met Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Someone had told Trump that Rod Stewart was there, but Trump waved it off, saying, "Yeah, but this is Ben Carson." That moment told Carson everything he needed to know about Trump's character. Someone who values people for who they are,
have traditionally been neglected. You know, it's what's been done. It's not what's been said or how it's been interpreted and hashed over and over in the media.
But Secretary, look at this tweet that Ilhan Omar has put out. I mean, this is an elected congresswoman, an elected position that says that, you know, the president wants every black and brown person deported, every Muslim banned. How is this possible that an elected official can get away with saying this as if this is fact?
Well, you know, there is a radical element. I don't want to talk about a specific congressperson because of the Hatch Act, but, you know, there is a radical element that has been introduced into our legislative body.
Carson went on to recall a moment from the 2016 presidential debates. When his name wasn't announced and the others walked past him onto the stage, Trump stayed beside him, refusing to move until Carson was called. "That's the kind of man he is," Carson said. "Loyal, grounded, and fair." The story stood in stark contrast to the hateful image the media has tried to paint for years.
The intent on pushing their ideology. and they have an accomplice in the media in doing so. And this is very detrimental to our country. I think, we should be having a conversation with the media, and they should be having a conversation themselves, asking themselves, why is it that the press is the only business that has been protected by our Constitution? And the reason is because they were supposed to disseminate objectively to the people of America real information upon which they could make decisions. They were not supposed to try to manipulate people. So, there are the radical element that is taking advantage of the ideological bent of the media, and it's unfair to the people. But as Thomas
He reminded
Jefferson
viewers
said,
that long before politics,
through.
civil rights leader Jesse Jackson had honored Trump for his contributions to the African-American community. But that story never makes the news, because it doesn't fit the narrative. Under Trump's leadership, Black and Hispanic unemployment hit historic lows, and opportunity zones were created to rebuild communities left behind for decades. Through the Second Chance Act, countless individuals were given new opportunities to rebuild their lives. These were tangible results, not slogans, not empty promises, but real outcomes that improved real life.
Come through. The people will be smart enough to figure this out. I hope that's true.
Well, I mean, I agree with that sentiment. This dysfunction is certainly not serving the people, that's for sure. Secretary, before you go, a word on housing. We just saw housing numbers which showed that home ownership in the Black community is now at an all-time low, while Hispanics are actually driving the housing market, increasing numbers in terms of home ownership. Can you characterize what you're seeing? We're about to speak with Brian Moynihan, the chairman and CEO of Bank of America, largest mortgage originator. I'd like to get your take in terms of housing right now before we speak with Mr. Moynihan coming up in the program.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, Black home ownership has...
Then came the topic that sparked the controversy. Ilhan Omar had tweeted that President Trump wanted every Black and brown person deported and every Muslim banned. Carson didn't respond with outrage, but with perspective. There's a radical element in Congress, he said, that's working hand in hand with a biased media. Together, they twist words, fuel division, and mislead the American people. It's not about truth anymore, it's about control.
Because of the housing crisis, people took advantage of a lot of people who did not have a lot of wherewithal in terms of financial knowledge about housing. And, by manipulating debt-to-income ratios and the various types of manipulations for credit that were done, they put people into houses that they couldn't afford, which is not doing anybody any favor. You lose your house, you lose your credit, you lose your future opportunities. We're still recovering from that. And it is very important that we do what we can to get people back into housing, because the average net worth of a renter is $5,000. The average net worth of a homeowner is $200,000.
Carson went deeper, warning that the media, once trusted to inform the public, has become a tool for manipulation. The press was protected by the Constitution to provide truth so citizens could make informed decisions, he said. They weren't supposed to shape opinions through distortion or ideology. He echoed Jefferson's belief that the people, in the end, will see through the deception, but admitted it's getting harder when lies dominate headlines. When asked about housing, Carson shifted the discussion from politics to economics. He explained that Black homeownership had declined sharply since the housing crisis because families were pushed into risky loans they couldn't sustain. When people lose their homes, they lose their credit, their stability, and their future, he said. The average renter has a net worth of $5,000. The average homeowner's is $200,000. That's a 40-fold difference. Rebuilding homeownership, he argued, is key to closing the wealth gap and restoring long-term prosperity.